Hey everyone, in today's video I want to show you my thought process when it comes to starting a panorama sketch. In this case here, this is the city of Hanoi in Vietnam. If you want to follow along, you can download the reference photo from the video description below. This is a panorama scene with a lot of buildings in the foreground as well as in the backgrounds. We have tall buildings, short buildings, lots of windows and a lot of perspective because of the roofs. Drawing a panorama scene can be quite intimidating because there is so much details, so many things to draw, and there are different ways to start. There's no right or correct way to start. You can draw from left to right, from right to left, from the outer edges to the middle, from the middle to the outer edges. It really depends on your preference and whether or not you are left-handed or right-handed. So for me, I'm right-handed. I will try to draw from left to the right. The first consideration I will make is I need to include the largest element in the scene. So once I include the largest element in the scene, which are the two tall buildings in this photograph, I will be able to fit all the smaller elements. Now when it comes to drawing panorama sketches, panorama scenes, proportion is very important, because if you draw something too big, everything later on will be drawn too big and you will run out of space. If you draw too small, then actually drawing too small is not a problem because you won't run out of space. You can just keep drawing until you fill up the space. So let's take a look at the largest element in this scene, which are the two tall buildings. So I want to fit the two tall buildings here from top to the bottom based on my photograph here. So this tall building here, I'll put this horizontal line, and this vertical line will go down somewhere around here. So here I try to draw the longest line first. This line will go down to this point here, which is slightly below the midpoint of this page, and this line will go down here, slightly above the midpoint of this line. And I can draw the roof here. This roof is about as wide as this building here. And I can draw the other line that goes down all the way. So after I have drawn this, if I'm drawing this on location, I would actually start filling in the details. Here I'm just going to show you my process, a very quick process, general process. I'm going to use this horizontal line to represent the different floors of the buildings. I don't want to draw all the windows. I just want to show you how I break down this scene. So this is the second floor. The second floor starts from here and then stops around here. Now this building, it has protruding parts to the front, so that's why you see these edges, they come out. And this point here, make sure it doesn't go beyond where it should go. So I'm using this width here to get my point here. And then it goes down here. And there is this part here. And then it goes down here. All right. Sometimes I will draw things like this or little details, maybe a plant here, to let me know where I am. Sometimes when drawing too many things, you can get lost. So sometimes I like to add little details here and there to remind me of where I am. So after I've drawn this section here, let me go to drawing this building, which is just beside. The top of that roof will come here, and the bottom of that roof will end somewhere here at the midpoint of this. So it's going to be here, and I just join the line. And this will come here. There is some perspective going on. That's this roof, and then we have this come here, and we have a roof here as well. So this tall building, it is almost done. It's very quick. Once you've drawn the big shapes, you can go in and draw the little shapes very easily. So now I'm just subdividing the different sections to draw the windows. We have some things at the top there, 2 water tanks, and you can go in and fill in the details. These 3 buildings almost complete except for the details. Now we can draw the buildings, the shorter buildings. Now there are a lot of buildings in this scene and all of them are affected by perspective. So I will want to find out where is the vanishing point. I will do that by measuring the angle of the roofs. For roofs that are flat, I will use my pen to find the vanishing point. So in this case, I can see the vanishing point. It's actually somewhere to the right side of this building, which is somewhere around here. I will place a dot there. And now I can draw the roofs of all those other shorter buildings to the vanishing point. You can draw based on what you see, or you can use some perspective knowledge to help you make your sketch more accurate. So in this case, I'm using both my knowledge of perspective and also drawing what I see. So I will just draw the diagonal lines to the vanishing point. So for this panorama sketch, I will continue drawing to the left side, and every time I want to draw a new building, I will need to consider where that building is in relation to where this element is, the first element, the largest element. So for example, with this new building that I am drawing, I need to see where the height is compared to where this is. So in this case, it starts somewhere around here. So it starts here. I'm aligning to this part here. I need to draw some of those vertical handrails. And then it comes down like this. Remember, it goes to the vanishing point. So if your line is a bit off, the perspective will seem a bit off. And for the other building, there is a roof here. I'm drawing, oops, I drew this roof here a bit too low. So this roof, if you take a look at the reference photo, it should be on the left side of the hand railing, which should be here, much higher. So that's why I say concentration is very important. Sometimes when you draw too many things, you will get lost. And as you draw, you get more and more tired. It's like mental fatigue because there's so many things to draw. So you have to draw slowly, pace yourself, and don't tire yourself out too early. So for this part here, I will just continue to draw to the left side, but always be comparing. Always be taking your proportions, your measurements relative to the tallest element. For example, the buildings that are furthest away, the skyline, so to speak, they would start around this place here. So anything you draw, it shouldn't extend beyond the skyline. Let's move over to the other side. We have this big building here. This is also a very big building, so it's quite important to get that right. And it starts here, goes to the right side, and it comes down here. This part here, it's wider compared, sorry, it's more narrow compared to this part here. Comes down, and we have this diagonal line, which will go to the vanishing point again. And this vertical line will go down to where this line will be, and even further down. And we have another roof here. And the diagonal line here, again, will go to the vanishing point. Again, everything you draw, take measurement to what you have already drawn. If you are looking at a satellite view of this roof, this would be a perfect rectangle, but we are looking at this roof from the top and also from the front, so it's affected by perspective. And this line will go to the vanishing point as well as this line there. So we have something like this, and we can draw the roof. I may want to draw a little detail here, like the windows, to remind me where I am. And then we can draw the detail. So after drawing this, big shape, I can draw the little details. I'm drawing this tall building in the background. Now the height of this building the roof of this building is lower compared to this roof here. So when I draw, I need to make sure that it is lower. And there seems to be another white building behind that ends here. There are some water tanks here. I'm going to draw that. And this white building, it's a rectangular block that comes out here and then goes down like this. There are some windows. I want to draw a few to remind me that this is a building and that's the face of this side wall of this building. And this is the top. And we can, once again, after you have drawn the big elements, you can go in and fill in the smaller elements. And remember, when drawing all these buildings which are in perspective, take a look at the vanishing point, see if it is applicable to draw those diagonal lines to the vanishing point. Not all diagonal lines will go to the vanishing point, so before you draw, see whether or not it actually points to the vanishing point. For the buildings in the background, so I would try again once to draw all the bigger elements first. There's a tall block here. And if you are using a pen that can produce thin and thick lines, use thinner lines for buildings that are further away and thicker lines for buildings that are closer to you. So my sketch here, it looks like it doesn't follow what's actually in the photograph, because I'm just doing a very quick demo. Now, if you want accuracy, you just have to really concentrate and observe and draw. Now, the main thing about this part here is draw from big to small. And when you don't have any space to draw those little details like windows, you can just leave them out, because if you try and squeeze details into the tightest of spaces, it's going to make the sketch look too busy, too dense. And sometimes when there are too details, it's actually quite difficult to read the sketch. The sketch will lose its clarity. So if you don't have space to draw windows or don't have space to draw little details, you can just leave them out. But for the background here, try to draw from big to small. If you make any mistakes, like if your positioning is off, don't go and correct that mistake, like erasing, things like that. In this case here, I made the mistake of positioning this roof a bit too low. To correct that, to so-called correct that, I would just leave it alone. I would just continue drawing all the other buildings. And in this, for this particular scene, you can actually add or subtract buildings. Of course, as much as possible, you want to draw everything based on what you see, but sometimes you make mistakes, you add additional buildings where there shouldn't be the buildings. It's all right, because the person looking at a sketch, he or she won't be able to tell. So sometimes I actually do add additional buildings, or I don't draw certain buildings, maybe because I run out of space, my measurement isn't that good and I run out of space. So some buildings I would just leave them out. I accidentally dropped a drop of ink here. So this is how I would tackle a panorama scene. I would look around, locate the tallest building, the largest element first, and then draw that and fill in the details, and then expand out by drawing big and then the details, drawing big and then the details, and this is what I have. Let me show you the actual sketch that I drew on location. So this is the sketch. This is the tallest building and the second tallest building, and this is the other large building here. This is a portrait sketchbook. I drew this two buildings first, or these three buildings first, and then expand outwards to the left and to the right and to the bottom. So let me know in the comment section below whether or not you find this helpful. And thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.